ladies and gentlemen, to the Horse Races Now podcast. Kenny, it's Oaks and Derby week. It's got to be a busy week for you out at Churchill Downs.
It's exhausting.
It's got to be, right?
We try to just put one foot in front of the other. Every morning is so busy. There's been so many people out. I'd say hundreds, but I think it's been closer to thousands. And it's really I get a lot of people come by. They want see the stable and everything, and I do my best to balance between keeping my eye on all the horses and handling all the people. But I'm looking forward to Sunday a little bit. You've got to really the week is last Saturday to this Saturday night, and then after that there'll be a little letdown, and that's good. But look, that's part of the show.
So Sonny's here with us, and if you remember our last show, he got hit by a skunk. I can still smell it. Are you all letting him in the house right now?
He has had so many baths, and I've shaved his chest. Today seems a little bit like it's come back with a second wave. I don't know what that's about.
He's pretty pungent today.
Yeah, he's going to get another bath this afternoon. But that's the toughest thing ever. Everybody says tomato juice, hydrogen peroxide, vinegar. I've done that. Today's going to get a good scrubbing again. But yeah, that skunk won.
All right, let's start with some exciting news for the Horse Races Now podcast. We have a sponsor. We have a full-scale sponsor in Fasig-Tipton. What they want to talk about right now is their Mid-Atlantic May sale, which is May 19th and 20th in Maryland. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Kenny, this is the only major 2-year-old sale that's held on a dirt surface.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, my first classic winner, Sarava, came out of this sale.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely been a source of some good ones, and then I've had several other very, very good horses. Princess Warrior came out of that auction. That's one of the later 2-year-old in training sales of the season for Fasig-Tipton, and I think Fasig-Tipton will after this auction head in towards the yearling markets, which start in July.
Got it.
Really great company, and I've been associated with them and buying from them for decades.
Well, so real quick for our listeners, if somebody might be interested, we get a lot of these comments or people that are kind of new to the game and want to start learning about owning horses and whatnot. If you were to go to the Fasig-Tipton sale, what do you do? What's it look like?
Well, I mean, for someone that's never been around it, the first thing you do is you find somebody that knows how to work those auctions, because working an auction's a real art.
Yep.
And then from there, you've got to go into the catalogs, and there's a buyer authorization, and you've got to get your banking details, and they check your credit rating and things like that. For someone like myself, if I represent somebody, they typically are relatively lenient about that. But it's the same with Keeneland sales. You have to do all the pre-sale approvals. But these are great auctions to buy horses at. Fasig-Tipton is the list of top horses is amazing. They've got a roll of honor there at Fasig-Tipton that goes back decades, and horses like Seattle Slew and so many other really good ones. American Pharaoh.
Yeah, there's some big time names on there.
Yeah. So it's one of the premier auction houses in the world.
Pretty cool. So we appreciate Fasig-Tipton and being part of the show, and look forward to moving forward with them in the future.
The only major U.S. 2-year-old sale held over a dirt surface, Mid-Atlantic May, continues to produce graded stakes winners across the globe and on all surfaces. Recent grads include Eclipse champion Straight No Chaser, brilliant winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, as well as this year's Riyadh Dirt Sprint at the Saudi Cup, plus Grade 1 winners Full Count Felicia and Sacred Wish. The Fasig-Tipton Mid-Atlantic May 2-year-olds in training sale, May 19th and 20th in Timonium, Maryland. Where will you be?
Tons of comments from our last episode. People loved Annie.
Yeah.
Loved Annie.
Yeah.
Thought she was smart. Thought she was just cute. People adorable. People loved Annie.
Yeah, good. She wants to come every time, she says.
I guarantee it.
I think today she's got a little school going on.
Well, exactly. But I tell you, she was fantastic. And comment after comment about how people who loved Annie. So that was great. What I want to do today, Kenny, is we're going to go over a few of the questions that we've got from our last episode. And then we're going to get into break down a little bit of the Derby week. So break down Oaks Day, breaks down Derby. You've got some horses running, not even up outside. We got Mystic Dan running in Oaklawn. So we got a bunch of different things to talk about. Before we get there, though, a couple questions. Why run Render Judgment in the Derby? Why not run him in the Preakness? This particular Henry Wayne felt like Hypness would have been the better choice.
You could go either way, but Hypnus did not have the points, so that wasn't
Hypnus couldn't have got
that
it
wasn't
anyways.
even an option. And at one point in time, Render Judgment didn't have the points. He actually didn't look like he was going to make the body of the race until the day of the entries, and then when Tappan Street opted out because of an injury, it opened the door for him to get into the body of the race.
Got it.
And the ownership group, I had actually recommended that we run an allowance race because I really believe in building a horse's confidence. And then the ownership group discussed it, and then they came back to me and said that they were really, really interested in running. And, look, you respect that, and I work for them for sure. And weirder things have happened in the Kentucky Derby. So
now you got to go win it.
Well, and the family of Toby Keith are wonderful people, and they're real excited about it, and I think Toby would have been really excited. And, it's not the first time that sentiment gets in the way of rational, but at the same time, like I said, weirder things have happened, and the horse is doing well. He's had a couple foot issues, nothing major, but we've been kind of doctoring those things up, and you've got a great blacksmith underneath him. But, look, he's going into it. He's best work he'd ever put in last weekend.
Okay.
And he's won at Churchill.
That's encouraging.
He's won at Churchill. So let's line him up and give him a chance.
Well, we're going to break down the Derby race here shortly, but talk to me about Toby Keith. I think that's going to be a big narrative Derby day. I think there's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, it looks like they're already betting on the horse because of Toby, and he was a great guy as we all know, and I would run into him at the races at Oaklawn. I remember the first time I met him was at Delta Downs when I ran in the Delta Jackpot, a nice 2-year-old race that they subsequently don't have. But
Right.
but that race, Toby showed up, and he was an absolute hoot to be around. And some say he loved horse racing more than he did music.
Really?
Which is really saying a lot.
Did he have a lot of horses?
He did. He had a lot of horses, and most of them were Oklahoma breds.
Yeah.
He had a farm he kept out near Oklahoma City, and just a real interesting guy. And he would show up at Oaklawn Park with friends, and it wasn't unusual for Toby to break down and grab a guitar across the street from the track, or go to the
That's pretty cool.
to the back porch grill. Sonny is unhooked me over here.
Uh-oh.
All right, there we go.
We're back.
So he would go to the back porch grill and grab a guitar and go out the back, and
cool.
he'd give a little private concert. And he also did Breeders' Cup events.
Yeah.
Yeah, but his passion for horse racing was massive.
Well, pretty cool story, and obviously with his passing, it's going to be a big angle, much like Jason Worth was last year with Dornoch.
Yeah, Jason. Jason's in again.
Yeah,
And
is he?
Yeah, he's back in.
I didn't know that. With who?
Yeah, he's got the horse coming out of the Turfway race, and I'm trying to remember his name right now. Actually, Jason and I have a side bet, Flying Mohawk.
Okay.
That if my horse ends up in front of his or vice versa, $200 change hands.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and he and I did that on the Travers last summer with Torpedo Anna and Dornoch.
Yeah.
I said 200, I beat you straight up. And that's kind of a funny one because I like actually playing that bet because it's really how horse racing started.
Sure.
I bet my horse beats your horse.
Right.
That's really the way it goes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But Jason's a ton of fun. And I love his energy, and his wife's adorable.
Yeah.
And, I think he's a big addition to the sport. We need guys like that.
He came off really well in the Netflix series because there was things like the trainer said, well, he needs to go out and gallop. Jason goes, well, I don't know what that means. But, it's kind of funny because he knows nothing about it.
Yeah,
but.
He knows more than you think he knows. He's learning real quick. He thought my outfit for the trainer's dinner was a hoot.
I'm sure he did.
I think he posted a picture, too, of me out there.
He got a kick out of that for sure. All right, now this comes... And this is a Brian Hernandez question. So obviously Brian Hernandez is not riding Render Judgment. And so the question is, does a jockey agent control what horses a jockey rides, or does a jockey have input in this?
Well, the jockey would definitely have input because he would discuss how a horse feels to his agent.
Okay.
But in this case, Ian Wilkes rode Brian way before I did.
Okay.
And Ian gave him his first Breeders' Cup Classic winner. They have had an ongoing working relationship. Ian goes to Florida. I have more horses at fairgrounds during the winter, so
Right.
I have a little more access to Brian on a daily basis.
Right.
But complete respect. I mean, Brian was asked to go ride Burnham Square. He did. The horse ran well for him. The Bluegrass was a big victory. And then, look, he obviously keeps that mount. And Render Judgment was a late decision. So I needed to find somebody else.
Well, you got a decent jockey on him.
Yeah, well, Julian's won, I don't know how many races he's won at Churchill.
A bunch.
Yeah. And he's kind of, maybe he's in the twilight of his career,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he's always been a really good solid rider.
Right.
And I think he fits this horse really well. But back to Brian, whenever there's a cross like that where his agent's got to go in another direction, he tells me, or either that or I already know.
Sure.
But no, that's fine. I mean, look, it's I hope he wins another one. If I can, I hope he does.
So part of the Netflix series, when Katie Davis was being featured, her agent was featured quite a bit on this. And so the second part of this question is, what impact does an agent have on a jockey's career?
Huge impact. I think that smart agents keep themselves around trainers that have very good horses. Good trainers keep themselves around owners that have good horses.
Yeah.
It all trickles down. If an agent has the connections to be able to get his jockey inside a top outfit with top horses, then obviously they win more races, or at least they have the better shot because they've got the quality of stock. When it's not any different than a basketball coach or football coach, if you can recruit the better players,
Sure.
your team should be stronger.
Sure.
And it does work that way. But good agents really do. They stay close or have good connections or relationships with trainers. Mike Solito is a good example with Billy Mott.
Got it.
He stays close to Billy. He's had Billy has great horses, a great trainer. They have a working relationship. Mike takes care of Bill's business. Bill trusts Mike in the racing office. And that's the way Frank and I work.
Sure.
And there are a whole list of jockey agents, trainers that have those kind of relationships across the nation, not just at Churchill.
Makes sense.
But even smaller tracks. They're agents that are working the backside, checking which horses. A really good agent knows who's running where.
Got it.
And has an idea of how a race is going to fill or whether it's not going to fill. So that is a definite big deal.
All right. I've got another question here from Ernest. I live a mile from Oaklawn and go often. What does Kenny think Oaklawn is doing right, and what could they do differently? What could other tracks learn from Oaklawn's model?
Well, when they got the casino passed down there and they've been able to put that money back into the purses, that's huge. Arkansas is a state that is unique in the sense that the politicians there really get it and they support Oaklawn.
Yeah.
Because it's the only racetrack in the state that they've got, it's probably a poor term, a monopoly on the business. At the same time, people are so passionate about horse racing in Oaklawn and in Arkansas in general. And there's this magnet for people to come there.
Right.
And it's a really great little town. Not very big at all. I mean, there'd be more people at the races than actually live in the town. Maybe twice as many people at the races than live in Hot Springs. Yeah. But that's part of it. And it's a very family-oriented city. The Sella family in general has really devoted their lives to making Oaklawn Park a success. You're never going to meet classier people than the Sella family.
Got it.
They're really just top of the heap type of people. And I think that between the political landscape and then the casino, and then they've been able to use the historical racing, and then I think they promote it well. I think people have this real positive viewpoint of Hot Springs and Oaklawn, and it really is part of the community. And I think that's what differentiates it. Saratoga is the same. Mm-hmm. The ownership of Saratoga is completely different than Hot Springs, but it's same. The one thing that the two tracks do that I think is really good is both of them have historically had something called a pink sheet in the newspaper, which gives you, it's basically a 4-page sectional that has all the entries and notes and comments. And
Interesting.
the pink sheet, for me, is a great promotional tool. I think every racetrack in the nation
should do that.
Should have the pink sheet.
Okay.
And then you can also get the racing on the radio throughout Arkansas.
Okay.
Which I've always said, open it and they'll come.
Yeah, amen.
They do that in Hot Springs, or they do that at Oaklawn Park.
Okay.
Terry Wallace, for decades, you wouldn't know that name, but for those that know Oaklawn Park and racing, Terry Wallace was the voice of horse racing in Arkansas.
Okay.
And there's a lot of radio shows in Arkansas that they talk about the racing. Wayne Lucas said it best. The last two states that will continue to race horses will be Kentucky and Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah. There will be no stopping in those two states.
All right. Well, great answer there. And I'm sure Ernest got a lot out of that one. Speaking of Oaklawn, this coming Saturday, Mystic Dan will run in race 11. Talk to us about that one.
We got to get him back to winning ways. The horse is doing super down there. It's not an easy race. We're going to run against a horse named Saudi Crown, which I've got a few horses for that ownership group. FMQ Racing, which is a Saudi Arabian client.
Yeah.
Named Faisal Al-Qatani. Wonderful guy.
Okay.
But anyway, I got to beat him.
Right.
And Mystic Dan, I think, can get that done down there. We do. We need to get a W, get his mind back. We got to get him back in the winner's circle. And hopefully it's one step of many for a real good second half.
You ought to get some decent odds on him.
I'm not sure.
He starts 5-2.
He hasn't beaten older horses yet.
Okay.
That's a hoop that he's got to jump through. I mean, the transition from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old to a 4-year-old,
right,
as you raise up, the water gets deeper.
Yeah.
And it's not any different than somebody going high school, college, pro.
Yeah.
When you get to the pros, the speed of the game's a little faster. Mm-hmm. The talent level's a little higher. It's a lot higher. And that's really what he's dealing with. But for me, I feel pretty confident.
Okay. All right. Mystic Dan, race 11 on Saturday, so don't miss that one. That one's at Oaklawn. All right, so let's get into Oaks and Derby Day here, Kenny. So I was listening to a radio station coming into work today, and they were talking about doing a pick 6, which goes from Friday to Saturday. They were starting with race 7, which Torpedo Anna is in on Oaks Day. Can anybody beat her?
No.
Bottom line, right?
Chad Brown's going to try to, but the chances of her getting beat. Well, look, I'm bringing her back in 3 weeks, which some say a horse bounces.
Too quick.
No, it's not true. 3 weeks is not going to be a problem for her.
Got it.
He's bringing a couple of good ones. Raging Sea is probably the best of the two, and that's the filly that. But she's handily beaten Raging Sea before, and whether Raging Sea as a 5-year-old can find a dent in her armor remains to be seen. But look, it is a horse race and things can happen. But we feel pretty confident that she'll do.
Okay,
so
there's
she'll
your
do
answer.
Her thing.
There's your answer on the pick 6.
She does her thing.
Race 5 on Oaks Day, we have Gal's Delight. How do you feel about that one?
I think this filly could be playable.
Okay.
I haven't been overly impressed with that division, the fillies, grass fillies. I could have put her in the Kentucky Oaks. She had the points, but she had been beaten pretty handily by Good Cheer a couple races in a row.
Got it.
And not that she would duck one horse, but I think from the inside draw, this filly might be able to slow the pace down.
Okay.
A lot of times you get distance grass fillies where they ride it very European. They wait for the one run. My filly's fast, and if she were to cruise early, get a 48 or 49 second half mile, they might have a hard time catching her.
All right.
So we shall see.
All right, let's break down the Oaks. So you've got the PPs in front of you. Obviously, we have Take Charge, My Lady in there, but let's handicap this one with Kenny McPeek.
Okay, so we can go horse to horse real quickly, but I think that the Aqueduct races at this point, I think that there's much deeper water than the horses that have been running in Aqueduct, and the filly that is in the 1-hole early on, I was third in the Virginia Oaks.
Okay.
And my filly's a useful filly, but I don't think she's quite that good. So I really question the depth of the Virginia Oaks race there. Simply Joking, I think, is a big play.
Okay.
She hadn't run in 2 months going into the Fantasy. and she tried to wire them, and she just got ran down by Quiet Side.
Right.
But I think she needed that race, and I think she moves forward off that race.
Okay.
And I think actually with the bad draw for Quiet Side, I think Simply Joking is a huge play here.
So you like Simply Joking?
Yeah, I mean she's drawing inside. She has natural speed. I do think she's shown she'll rate, which she did in her maiden win. If she's tactical, that filly's going to be tough to beat. I think Whit Beckman is got to be real excited about taking her over there.
Okay.
Fondly is another one that came out of Virginia Oaks, which I think that race was a little weak.
Okay.
Drexel Hill is another one that came out of Aqueduct, was getting beaten in Louisiana, and is it Simply Joking handled her pretty easily down there. So I think that's a filly that's going to have to show a little bit more, but that's Witt's also. So
got it.
He's I think his better one's on the inside. I'm not sure he'd agree or not, but that's interesting.
Okay.
Kicking on. Quick Kick has really gone backwards since last year.
Right.
She's beaten pretty handily the last couple in a row, and I'll be surprised there. Ballerina Dioro, Chad Brown does bring a big gun in typically.
Yep.
And this filly ran against La Cara, and the Gazelle was a good win, but I'm not sure that the New York races are going to be dominant here, but we shall see.
Good jockey on that one, though. Pratt's running.
Yeah, he always does a great job. La Cara, so she kind of stole the Ashland, but she did it with fast fractions.
Yep.
And this is a filly that between Simply Joking and La Cara, that could really dictate how this race unfolds.
Okay.
I was going to run her down if we went 1 1/8 at Keeneland. My filly who finished second,
It doesn't have enough track.
which we'll get to in a minute, was coming. Now, however, that race didn't really finish in all that fast a time.
Right.
So we shall see on that one. 5G, the race in Florida, second place finisher was coming out of being claimed.
Okay.
That race can produce a really good Oaks horse, but Swiss Skydiver actually ran in the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Okay.
But this filly's run good about anywhere you take her.
So you like 5G?
Yeah, I mean she's in with a chance for sure. Let's see, Baffert. Anytime Bob rings one, you got to give it a
He's
chance.
back at Churchill.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good filly in her own right, and she's done pretty much everything right other than one off the board or one bad third in the Oakleaf. But her last race, another good time, another good race.
So I tend to look at the lifetime races. So this one is raced 6 times and won 5 of those. Is that correct?
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Excellent. Yep. And she's tactical. There's another one at tactical speed. My filly, Take Charge Milady, is going to have to come from the back. We got to hope for a little pace setup.
Okay.
She has fought some actually abscess, and we've got it sorted out. But she's going to need to move up.
How's the hoof? Because I know that's been a source of contention.
We've made huge progress in the last week. For those that don't know, she had an abscess pop out the top of her coronet band.
Right.
She hasn't been lame on it, but she's had some seepage, and it's been one of these things that we really have to watch. And she's galloped super the last 2 days, but she's going to have to find another level. I mean, I'm going to be pleased if she's third or better, but she's going to need to improve 3, 4, 5 lengths to win this race. Mm-hmm. Good Cheer, I think, is an obvious favorite. This filly has been dominant. I have been whipped by her the last 2 runs. I ran Gal's Delight with her 2 in a row, and she handled Gal's Delight. She just galloped away.
She hadn't been beat yet. There's another filly that's ran 6 times and won 6 times.
And she stalks and she just punches, and she's just ultra impressive. She's a real superstar, really. I think that's definitely, without a doubt, the favorite. But I think going back to Tenma's got a chance to run her down. My filly would have to find another level. Simply Joking can move forward. And then so Anna's Promise. This is one that was claimed out of a maiden 50, and that's a tough one. You got to kind of question. It took her 6 starts to break her maiden,
Right.
and she's going to have to show a whole nother level. And I think that puts a little bit of question mark on the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Got it.
Bless the Burden is a filly that I know the ownership, Mike Marino, and
Yeah.
Mike actually was keen on running back in the Ashland, but Will Walden wanted to wait. But this filly runs hard every time you take her over there. But she's kind of like Gal's Delight, and I think she's going to need to find another level. And she was already beaten by Simply Joking. It's she's going to switch from synthetic to dirt, which I don't think is a big deal. But she's going to need to find solid 6, 7, 8 lengths to make up on.
We're throwing the 13 out.
Yeah, going to have to make up on good cheer.
Okay.
Quiet Side. Not a great draw from out here. If she can break okay and tuck in, Jose Ortiz is riding fantastic right now.
He really is.
But she's kind of like my filly, Take Charge Milady. I think she might need a little bit of setup from out there, and she's going to need to be able to lay 3rd, 4th.
Okay.
But that high-level talented filly. But, she's going to need to find another level too. But it's a solid contentious field, as it should be.
So John Ortiz is listed as that trainer. I'm assuming that's Jose's dad.
Excellent. No. Excellent young man. Works his tail off every day.
There's got to be a relation there with Jose, right?
I'm not sure if they're related or not.
Interesting.
I'm not sure. But you off the top of my head, the group Simply Joking is going to be tough.
Good cheer.
Good cheer for sure. La Cara's going to need. I think she's going to need to set up for. We shall see. Tenma, you can't throw out. I don't think you can throw out Take Charge Milady, but I think her odds are justified 10 to 12 to 1.
Yep.
Good cheer, obvious favorite.
What about 5G?
5G, like I said, I think that the race. I kind of question the quality of the Gulfstream Park Oaks this year with Anna's Promise running second.
Got it.
Coming off being claimed.
So there's your 4.
Quiet Side. You're gonna have to add her in. You really, when you handicap, you want to bring in the ones that this
Can
horse
add some value.
Well, you try, but the other key is watching these horses in the paddock, and then see how their energy level is, how good they look, and you kind of key on those, and then you make a decision off. Really, I think you need to do it off visuals.
Got it.
But I think there's about 4 or 5 fillies that really suit. I think my filly's actually outside those 4 or 5.
Okay. Interesting. All right, there you have it. There's the Oaks breakdown with Kenny McPeek. All right. Now let's do the Derby, Kenny.
All right.
Race
20
12.
horses. It gets complicated, doesn't it?
I mean, and so that throws a big wrench in it, right? I mean, because horses can get in each other's ways. It's all about the ride. It's about your post position. 20 makes it a whole new ball game.
Okay, so just to start with what I've seen, Sovereignty is very impressive. I love the way he moved over this racetrack. I loved his work, his energy.
Yep.
I think that the way he ran in Gulfstream Park as a closer over a non-closing racetrack, I think he's going to be really tough to beat. If I were gambling on this race, that's the horse I would play.
Sovereignty.
I love the way
That's
he moves.
the 18th horse.
Well, he's an Into Mischief out of a Bernardini mare. The Into Mischief gives him the speed. The Bernardini gives him the stamina. Sheikh Muhammad hadn't won this race yet.
William Mott.
And he has poured money into it, and he is due. And I think that wouldn't surprise me if Sovereignty won easy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about the Japanese horse, though? There's a lot of talk there, and the Japanese horses have dominated on the world scale here lately.
I've watched Luxor Cafe's races. He's impressive. He's switching directions. He's got to change from a right-handed to a left.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but I think he'll handle that. But he's got great turn of foot. He turned it on his last race. It wasn't an overly quick time, but it was on a good racetrack. But I do think he's got a chance. Yes.
All right, let's start from the 1 here. So you kind of gave us your pick. Sock Citizen Bull.
I don't like him. He backed up so badly in his last race that I think he might, and he's bred more like a sprinter.
Now Bob normally doesn't bring one to the race he can't win with, though.
Well, I mean, but this horse has got stallion power, and he's already going to go to stud.
Got it.
But his speed is he's got it. Does he go from the inside? That's going to dictate how the pace of this race unfolds.
Okay.
The 2-horse Neoquos.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
Neolithic, another Harlan's Holiday line, but he's going to definitely have to show. Mostly all his best work's been against Statebreds.
Okay.
And Sovereignty beat him 2 in a row.
Okay.
And I think the further they go, Sovereignty goes on by. Final Gambit is a horse that was ultra impressive at Turfway. I mean, he circled the field.
Okay.
And I ran 3rd in the race, and he galloped home.
Interesting.
If he were to win this race, it would be a rarity for a horse that prepped at Turfway all winter long, and was at Turfway all winter long, won the Derby.
Why do you think Brad Cox did that?
Because he's got horses that are scattered. And he left him in Kentucky because it was a little easier.
Okay.
But when he broke his maiden, I mean, he was 15-1 in the Ruby.
Yep.
And paid big and ran big. And now I ran 3rd in the race with a classic grass horse.
Okay.
My horse is going to run in the American turf, but he galloped around everybody. And if he takes to the dirt, that
What horse was that, Kenny?
Final Gambit.
Final Game. Okay.
Yeah.
No. What horse was yours that you was the
Maximum Promise?
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
Yeah. Rodriguez, ultra impressive last time. Another horse that Bob's got the speed on the inside. So how he handles that and how he tells his riders to handle that is going to be real interesting. You don't want, basically, you got 2 of the same cards to play. Both horses seem like they want the front, but you will more than likely have the trainer say, okay, you go or you don't go. And he's not going to let his riders get into a speed duel if he's smart.
Okay.
And Bob's smart.
Got it.
Okay. Let's see, American Promise. This is a big, raw, powerful. I ran against him in his last race in the Virginia Derby. I was 2nd with Render Judgment. But he ran a career best. If he runs back to that, I mean, this horse is overpowering to be around.
Okay.
He's not the most correct horse, but got kind of a funny way of moving up front. But he's a very typical Justify, just power. He's got a chance if he runs back to the last race. How he handles pace, it looks like he can rate if he's needed to. Admire Daytona. I saw him win. He's a fighter. I was there when he won in Dubai, and I do think he's going to need to find another level, and I don't think he's nearly as good as the other Japanese horse.
Got it.
Luxor Cafe, I think you need to keep in. Journalism didn't overly impress me in watching his race visually. I think he's kind of a grinder.
Yep.
I think you need to be a little quicker. He grounded out in the Santa Anita Derby and was, he got there, but it seemed like he didn't go by easily. But I think he's going to need to show a little more quickness. And the numbers coming out of California, I kind of wonder about them. But he's done nothing wrong. So hard. And I do think Curlin's due to win a Derby.
Okay.
Burnham Square, that's Brian's horse.
Yep.
I think you will find him trying to make an inside trip. The knock on him would be is that I think the Bluegrass was one of the slowest we've had in years.
Okay.
I can't remember the last time a Bluegrass went 151 and change. He's going to have to run quicker than that, but I think he's a bit of a setup horse, and he was whipped pretty good by Sovereignty.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think he's going to need the perfect trip, but I still go back to Sovereignty. I have to pronounce that right. Sovereignty. Grande hasn't done much wrong. Rodriguez wired him in the Wood Memorial. If he moves forward, but here's another one. I mean, he's jumped through the other end and only had one stakes run. I'd like to see this horse in person. I have not seen him.
Well, that's Todd Fletcher.
Actually, a $300,000 Curlin would not have been the best looking Curlin ever, because the stud fee alone is nearly $200,000.
Got it.
So, Flying Mohawk. So I have a side bet with Jason Worth.
Super cool.
$200. Mine beats his. I think we're both outside chances. East Avenue. God, he's a gorgeous horse. I thought he was going to be the next coming as a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And then when he didn't make the lead, he breaks bad in the Breeders' Cup. He kindly fell apart, but he's a gorgeous horse, and they're trying to get him to rate in the morning.
Right.
He rated off horses, but he didn't really go by all that easily in the workout the other day. I'm not sure what he was working against, but I do think he's a horse that wants to be closer to the pace, and I don't think he wants to rate at all.
Can you explain to our listeners what that means when a horse is trying to rate? When you're trying to get a horse to rate?
Well, you lay horses behind. You get a rabbit, and then you lay the horse behind, and you teach them to pass.
Got it.
And he's been somewhat one-dimensional in that he's gone to the front in his 2 wins, which were, well, the Breeders' Futurity was a really impressive race. I was in that race, and he whipped us.
Got it.
But everybody thought he'd come back. I thought he'd come back and win the Breeders' Cup. I thought he was an obvious champion 2-year-old, but he ran terrible that day.
Okay.
And then he's come back and he ran poorly again at the fairgrounds trying to rate. Then he runs better on the lead. So he's a horse that, he went 46-4 and nearly wired him in the Bluegrass. Just got nailed. And how far does he want to go would be interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's 3 speed horses on the inside there. East Avenue.
Yeah.
Citizen Bull, Rodriguez.
Yep.
Something's got to break. Somebody's not going to make the lead. Publisher, as a maiden, ran well in the Arkansas Derby. I wasn't overly impressed with the group in the Arkansas Derby. I know Sandman. I looked at him as a yearling.
Yeah.
He has a hard time getting out of the gate. Grinder, I think Publisher would be a surprise. Huge surprise.
American Pharaoh.
Yeah, I think Tiz-Tastic would be a huge surprise also. Beaten pretty handily in the Rebel, but comes back and wins the Louisiana Derby. And the races in Louisiana this winter were very unusual. We had, and Asmussen won them all, but
yeah.
It just seemed like, and I'm not sure if he had an inside trip or not, but he ran huge in Louisiana. But I think physically he didn't impress me. But it's his last race. He's going to have to run that and better.
Okay.
Render judgment.
All right, here we go.
I'm not biased here. Realistically, we've got to find a whole nother level. He's a good colt. He's going to have to run the race of his life. He's going to need an inside trip. The best thing is his last workout was the best workout of his life.
So that's a good sign.
And he is 1 for 1 at Churchill. But he has got to find a whole nother level. And, Burnham Square beats him pretty handily last time.
What about the distance? Does he like the distance?
I think he will like the distance. But however, he's going to be back in the pack, and he's going to have to make a run and one run, and it's going to have to set up for him. Yeah. I would love to think his horse could win, but I'm going over there cautiously optimistic.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Coal Battle. Really nice horse to watch and be around. Gorgeous horse to look at. Wasn't overly expensive, but Sandman galloped past him pretty handily last time out.
Yep.
And Sandman, I think, is a grinder. I'm not sure that he's not going to show any speed in this race, and he's going to definitely be a setup. But if Sandman beats him 7 lengths, I think he's going to be hard pressed.
Okay.
Sandman, we just talked about.
Yep.
The once again, I think that he grinds it out. He's 13 lengths behind in the Arkansas Derby and ran him down.
Right.
But I think the Derby, you need to be a little more tactical. He's going to have a perfect trip. He's going to have to wiggle his way through.
Got a ton of lifetime earnings.
Yeah, a big long horse. I looked at him when he was sold. Looked at him really close. I didn't have the budget for that, but at $1.2 million, it was hard to buy.
Sure.
But DJ Stable, Lynn Green, the Green family, wonderful people. I'm pulling for them personally, but I think this horse is going to have the perfect trip.
Got it.
Sovereignty, I said all along, this is my play. This is who I would play.
Has Mott won the Derby?
Yeah, well, he did. He won it in disqualification. Yeah, when Maximum Security was DQ'd.
That's right.
Yeah. God, I can't remember that horse's name. I don't think he ever ran again. Anyway.
Mage?
No. It was before Mage. But Bill is just consummate horseman, and his horses tend to improve as they go. And when this horse won the Fountain of Youth, I would have said, if he wins the Florida Derby, he was going to jump out as the Kentucky Derby favorite. I think he got a little too far back at Gulfstream. It's really hard to close ground there. And when you close ground and he only gets beat a length, and then now this time he's got another eighth of a mile. I watched him train a lot. He trains like a beast, and I think he wants more, and I think he wants Churchill.
Odds, he might be the favorite.
I don't know, but that's who I would bet. And his numbers, like if you're looking at his Equibase numbers here that we're looking at, they didn't give him a huge number in the last race. They gave him 99 in the Fountain of Youth. But I really like what I see, and then Alvarado's back up, and his best runs have been under Alvarado.
Got it.
Chunk of Gold. So he has had a couple of really good inside trips when he ran in Louisiana. And the race against Magnitude was a really unusual race because the inside of the racetrack seemed to be so overly biased.
Right.
And Magnitude and Chunk of Gold stayed inside. And then he runs another good one in the Louisiana Derby. But I do think he's going to need to find the next level.
Okay.
Oh and Almighty is about like Rendered Judgment in the senses that we got beat 5+ lengths, around 5 lengths in the Bluegrass, and where he settles. I mean, I think he's going to be a horse that maybe doesn't want to go this far. Maybe he's not that good, but he's about in the same boat as my horse, Rendered Judgment.
Got it.
And then Baez is on the outside looking in. That's that's a horse with a chance. I mean, if you like journalism, you got to like Baeza. But I still think
how difficult is the 21 post?
Well, I mean, he's got to draw in to get in. It's it's doable. Big Brown one from way out there.
That's true. That was a different sort of horse, though.
Yeah, I mean, Rich Strike one from way out there. He's going to have to probably tuck in and find an inside trip. But this horse, he runs from off the pace, and has run well from off the pace. But if you look backwards, I mean, Rodriguez handled him pretty easily in a maiden win. He's got to draw in first.
So there you have it. So Kenny likes the 18.
I do. Yeah, I've watched him all week, and I mean, every time you see him train, he just. I think he's I hate to say it, he might be a single on this. If I was betting the race.
Have you done anything with Godolphin in the past? I mean, obviously that's a well-known name.
I turned him down. They offered me a job back in 2003.
Okay.
And I turned him down. I could have gone to Dubai professionally. I would have had to go to Dubai, New York. A real honor to work for Sheikh Mohammed, but the timing was wrong for me. But I've never had any horses for him, but it is definitely a world-class outfit. And I do think that he is so due. And I don't think Sheikh Mohammed's health is all that great, but his contribution to racing worldwide is massive.
Yeah.
And I do think it would be appropriate for him to at some point win a race like this. I think he's been whether it was at the sales or creating the Dubai World Cup or really the Godolphin Flying Start program. He's done a lot for thoroughbred racing worldwide. We need more guys like him, and I'm not giving you the horse because of that. I like the horse.
Right.
I mean, I think he's gorgeous. And I love his stride. I love the way he moves behind horses. I think Billy Mott's just world-class trainer and person.
Yep.
So, we'll see.
There you go. There it is. That's the Oaks and the Derby with Kenny McPeek. Kenny, obviously this is a cool week for you, especially being the reigning champ of both the big races. Has it felt different at all this week?
You try to compartmentalize it all because I really need to worry about horses at a time. And I really, you don't put much energy into what happened last year. People want to talk about it.
Oh, yeah. You're getting that
and I'm really proud of it. At the same time, there's a lot of other things to worry about, and you've got to really just say, okay, what I have to deal with here and now.
Yeah.
I've got a great team, and they're all dotting I's and crossing T's. Chris Beccari's been actively involved. He's coming early every day. He's a partner in Rendered Judgment and actually has been involved in bringing Blacksmith. We brought Ian McKinley in to help us, and he's been the guy that likes to really have his hands on
Got
things,
it.
which is fine.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I mean, I've done a lot of interviews. I've entertained a lot of people. I've done dinner after dinner after dinner.
The backside's got to be buzzing.
I haven't had a drink of wine or a bourbon for weeks now. I feel good.
Yeah.
But the emotional energy of dealing with so many people. Yesterday I came home and I said, I told Sherry I need 45 minutes just silence.
Yep.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want my phone on. I want to just shut my brain down. Then I got to hop up and go saddle one. And then the dinners, we did Stable Recovery last week. They raised $1 million for Stable Recovery.
That's awesome.
Probably the most impressive fundraiser I've ever attended.
Awesome.
Cost me $10,000.
I bet.
Then last night we did the Bellarmine basketball team.
Scotty Davenport's my guy.
Yeah, we did that. We auctioned off 2 halters for Torpedo.
So did you go? So you went to that event?
Oh yeah, I go every year.
Scotty's a great guy.
Yes,
he was in here
is.
not long ago
Yeah.
doing a podcast. Great guy.
Passed the baton to Doug, and that's cool. Coach Kelsey came out yesterday.
Yeah, that was famous.
Was that day before? I can't remember. It's all right.
Yeah, well, so Matt Jones is pumping you up now because you gave the L's down on air there.
Well, my wife is a U of L graduate.
That's right.
And look, I grew up in Lexington. I lived in Lexington for 30 years before I now live in Louisville, and I consider myself
Listen, you
a
went to
Louisvillian.
UK. It makes sense. Sure.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I grew up with people like Dan Issel was around. I'm
Yep.
friends with Dan.
Yep.
Even when Coach Patina was there, Coach Cal I've known, I've met, been around. Jack Givens I consider a friend. Kyle Macy I consider friendly
I get
with.
it.
A lot of them. But my wife throws the L's up and I go L's down.
Yeah.
L's up, L's down.
How'd Kelsey
I do
handle
it to-
that?
I do it to tease her. He was fine. I sent him a message after it. I said, "Don't take me seriously. I'm just joking around." And he said, "That's what college rivalries are about."
Yeah.
And
He's such a good guy.
I've gotten like hate messages from Louisville fans, and I'm like, "Hey, calm down."
I bet.
I love watching Louisville basketball.
Right.
I watch if I'm not watching UK, I'm watching U of L.
Yeah.
And about half the family's red, and the other half's blue.
Okay, fair enough.
My brother-in-law, Sherry's brother Barry, he's like, "Cool, L's down."
Yeah.
And Sherry's like, "You all need to hush." And anyway, and my daughter actually, she's bleeding red. Annie.
There you go.
You saw her here
Annie's-
last week.
Annie's
She wore
smart.
that Louisville thing.
Annie's
I said,
smart.
I need to get you in blue, Annie. And she's like, "No, Daddy.
Andy is smart.
I'm a card."
Now you have a horse named after Coach Kelsey, right?
Yes. A horse named Kelz,
Okay.
Kelz. He'll be coming up in about 30 days. We are
Who owns that horse?
Mike or Craig Mackin.
U of L fans? Is
Yeah.
that why they named him after
U of L
Kelsey?
booster.
Got it.
U of L bleed
Got it.
red. I mean,
Okay.
and Craig and I hoot about it too. And Craig, look, he's tickets to the ball games and everything. It's not unusual. I go to Louisville football games.
Awesome.
I've been to a couple basketball games.
Okay.
I'll wear red to the Louisville football game as
All
long,
right,
long
there
as
you
they're
go.
not playing the Cats.
There you go. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But we have fun with that. And then Coach Pope sent me a message the other day. Hope you don't mind me throwing out there, Coach. Well, after Kelsey, I told him, I said, and he said, "Cool, don't worry about
Yeah.
it." But then Pope sent me a message, thumbs up, and that said he was a fan watching me on Netflix, and then now he's a big fan.
Now he's
when
a
I threw
huge
the
fan.
L's
I
down.
guarantee it.
But anyway, and I've never met Coach Pope,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm looking forward to that. And one of my life dreams, and I probably shouldn't tell you all this, is that I'd like to do the Y at midcourt.
Okay.
The UK U of L game.
Okay.
Yeah, and Coach Pope said if you do keep winning derbies, you'll get to do that. And then if I did the Y, my wife will obviously run out there in Louisville red.
Yep.
And make sure that I like don't throw the L's.
Oh, that's great.
Anyway, all in fun. Don't you got Louisville fans? You guys got to stop taking this stuff so seriously. We're
Well,
just kidding around.
Listen, Kenny, it's about having fun, enjoying the
hoops.
moment.
Yeah.
If people didn't see, you did your best Ivorone impersonation at the trainers' dinner with the gold chain and the jacket. I thought that was hilarious. That was great.
Yeah.
People had to got a big kick out of that.
Well, Wayne and I we always go back and forth on things, and he likes to like remind me how much weight I've gained. Well, that's not weight. That's happiness.
That's
what
right.
are you talking about?
Happiness.
That's happiness.
Amen.
And so I actually wore a cowboy hat and the glasses, and I went up there with a cane. I followed him upstage, and I'm not sure Laurie Lucas was happy with me, but
that's funny.
But Wayne's thick-skinned. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
surely. I mean, he throws it at me. I threw
Sure
a
he
little
does.
at him. You
Yeah.
know, we have fun. I definitely have a world of respect for him. And I was dressed as Wayne, but underneath it all, I had the Ivorone outfit on with the gold chain, which was given to me by Netflix.
Oh, they actually
They had
gave it
that
to you.
made for me. Yeah, Ian Sambord, who was the producer of the show,
Okay.
had the McDouble
Oh, okay.
made. And I don't know. I came up with the idea. I'll go up there like Wayne, and then I'll open it up like
Yep.
the McDouble Ivorone outfit, and my button popped.
Hilarious.
And you got any glue?
Hilarious.
Yeah, I could never wear that outfit in real public. But anyway.
Listen, it shows your sense of humor. It shows you are as a person. I think people love it. And knowing Coach Kelsey just a little bit I do, I'm sure he didn't take any issue with that at all.
Oh, no. You know, he is that guy's got great energy.
More than
I
great.
mean, you know, he looks you dead in the eye. I like
Unbelievable.
people like
Yep.
that.
He
He's
does.
Great shape.
Yep.
He's obviously very intelligent.
Yeah.
And I think he's bringing a real unique energy to Louisville basketball.
He does.
Sherry wants to buy season tickets. I said, oh, yeah, we can.
There you go.
Fine.
There you go.
She said, will you wear the red gear that Pat gave you? I said, I don't know if I wear red or not, but we'll see.
That's awesome. Well, good luck this week, Kenny. Hopefully, hopefully we have some surprises maybe. And because I know you don't feel great about the Oaks or the Derby, but you never know.
Well, we're doing our best this year with these. Last year, I like to say that the seas parted. I mean, you couldn't have gone into either race without a hiccup.
Right.
Everything went perfectly. And that's rare.
Right.
All these trainers that we discussed in here are dealing with something.
Yep.
They're dealing with either horses not eating as well as they liked, or they're watching how they're moving,
Sure.
or they're doing some sort of, whether it's acupuncture or worried about. I mean, horse trainers are detail guys.
Sure.
We have to worry about all these little details. And in the case of my horses, I've got some details that, I'm worried about. And last year, we just didn't have anything to worry about at all.
Yeah.
But Torpedo Anna, she's one of, like I say, easy.
Right.
Everything seems to be so easy for her. But it's not, it's atypical. Usually there's always, like every horse that we're talking about in Oaks and Derby, that trainer in their head is going, okay, what about this? What about that? They need to worry about this. They need to worry about that. How they decide to take them and gallop them.
Right.
And, what they're doing feed tub wise, medication, although there's very little medication in these races.
Right.
But yeah, that's the unique thing about it. And I hope we're teaching people out there that racing horses is a detail business. I tend to be quite open about all the little details, and I want you to know and to learn about those details. And it's a very, like, as a trainer, and these trainers are so talented that they know exactly everything going on with their horses. And that's the art of doing what we do.
All right, man. Let's go. It's Derby week.
All right, it's Derby week.
Well, and listen, we want, once again, we owe a debt of gratitude to Fasig-Tipton to coming on board and continuing these podcasts going forward. And so if you don't mind, give us a share, give us a like, give us a good review, give us a comment, because that shows Fasig that they're putting their money in the right spot.
Well, wonderful operation, and really thankful that they've decided to back us, and we're trying to do a lot of positive things. But Fasig-Tipton's a wonderful company.
Awesome. All right, Kenny. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this edition of Horse Races Now. Good luck.
See you at the races. Hey, Sonny, come on up. Say hi. There's Sonny. Time for a bath.
Shoot, I'm telling you, something smells.
Sorry about that.
The only major U.S. two-year-old sale held over a dirt surface, Mid-Atlantic May, continues to produce graded stakes winners across the globe and on all surfaces. Recent grads include Eclipse champion Straight No Chaser, brilliant winner of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, as well as this year's Riyadh Dirt Sprint at the Saudi Cup, plus Grade 1 winners Full Count Felicia and Sacred Wish. The Fasig-Tipton Mid-Atlantic May two-year-olds in training sale, May 19th and 20th in Timonium, Maryland. Where will you be?